Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday, October 19th, 2015 City Council meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, Shell, you want to do roll call for us?
Albertson.
Here.
Bueller. Bueller. Danforth.
Here.
Manti. Riefenberger.
Here.
Roby.
Here.
Solom.
Here.
Thorson.
Here.
Tupper.
Here.
Vilhauer.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Shell. This time, I will look for a motion and a second for approval of the council consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Beth, second by Bruce. Any changes, anything that you guys need? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, approve the agenda. I will look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
I got a motion by Dan, a second by Glenn. Any questions, any changes on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, Eastwood's 18th edition, annexation and zoning. And Shane, I'll just let you get started.
All right, thank you, Mayor and City Council. This Eastwood's 18th edition, we introduced it at the last council meeting. It essentially includes, if you're looking at this screen, the portion immediately to the left of the hatched area was previously annexed and zoned by you on a previous action. So the project was expanded to include phase 1 would be the previously annexed area plus the hatched area would be now phase 1 for Eastwood 18th edition. So what you're being asked to do tonight is ratify the recommendations of the Planning Commission to annex this into the city by resolution and then also zone it R1 by resolution.
Okay, so what I'll do, Shane, I'll be looking for a motion and a second for discussion on annexation A. I got a motion by Mike, second by Don. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. B, second reading of ordinance number 1525, amending zoning district boundaries by zoning property east of 25th Street East to R1 Single Family Residential District. Shane, I'll let you go ahead on that.
Yes, that's rezoning this same area that you just annexed.
Did you
into.
want to say ditto or anything like that?
Ditto works for me.
Okay. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anyone that wants to speak in favor of or against this, this is your opportunity. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Randy, second by Beth. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 4, second reading of ordinance number 15-26, amending zoning district boundaries by rezoning property in the Ed Tom addition from C3 Highway Commercial District to R3 Multifamily Residential District. Again, Shane, you can light this up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Here again, this was introduced at the last council meeting and took previous action by the Planning Commission. If you're looking at the screen, the hatched area is the area that's proposed to be rezoned at this time. We've received a petition from the owner. I believe his reasons for rezoning at this time was more for refinancing purposes, but this is consistent with the R3 zoning, and you can see that there's R3 zoning essentially surrounding the property with a little bit of commercial yet on the south end and some county property on the north, but the request meets all of the requirements to be rezoned as R3, and we're recommending that be approved.
Okay, so at this time, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone that wants to speak in favor of or against this. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Randy, second by Dan. Any questions on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, first reading of ordinance number 15-27, amending section 19.0501, defining the authority to install traffic control devices within and for the city. Kind of hoping the chief would have been here, but Stanton, if you want to give a little bit of history on this, you're sure welcome to do so.
I think, to put it in context, for many years now, the street department has been the department that's been charged with putting up signs, et cetera, at various intersections and locations throughout the city. Current ordinance says that it's the police department that does that. The Chief McPeak brought it to our attention that, in fact, to be more consistent with what's actually happening, they recommended that this revision be made. And I think between now and second reading, there may be a minor tweak to the language of the ordinance, but the intent's going to be the same, is that the mayor, the police chief, the street superintendent, and city engineer, or their designees will get together and discuss appropriate locations for street signs, and that's how it'll be accomplished now. It's more of a housekeeping item than anything, just to reflect what actually occurs today in Watertown.
And I will open that for questions if you have anything for Stanton. It is first reading, but if you have questions on that now, you can certainly do that.
Did part of this come up with the concept of having those portable
It
speed
did.
signs?
It did not. In fact, how this happened was our Tuesday morning meetings, we were discussing a couple of stop signs, and I said, what the heck? Why do we have stop signs on First Avenue, Second Avenue, and Third Avenue, and then Fourth Avenue going down 4th Street? And then in the next statement, we were talking about putting stop signs on First Avenue, and Chief says, well, that's how all those stop signs happened, is because there was a group in the finance or whatever safety committee that said, we need these, we need some more stop signs over here and there. So it really seemed to make sense to have the people that are involved with those decisions to be right there and to take care of it. So that's how that all happened, but it was not with the other.
Well, just a point of clarification, it's authority to install. That doesn't mean they make all the decisions. The police department still weighs in on it, so.
I think between now and second reading, the slight revision you'll see will be those first 3 words in the underlined sentence that says a committee of. I think it's probably more appropriate to just say the mayor, police chief, street superintendent, and city engineers shall make effective the provisions, rather than make it seem like an actual authoritative body, like a committee, like the Public Works or Safety Committee, to your point, Mayor. We'll probably make that revision between first and second reading if that's acceptable to council.
Yep, I think so. Okay,
So
guys?
who would, somebody in the council, if we got a proposal, if we got a question by someone in our area, and we wanted to request a stop sign, who would we go through?
I
Who would
think
be the
that,
proper,
I don't want to speak for you, Mayor, but I think if an alderman in a particular ward has a suggestion like that, probably the place to start would be the mayor's office.
And then we'll get the group together and discuss that. Perfect. Okay, moving on. Special assessment role for weed cutting. I think, Shelley, that's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something that comes before you every year if we have any unpaid assessments for mowing and weed spraying. Quickly, just for the new members, throughout the summer, the city will provide mowing and weed spraying or weed abatement. It's done by complaint. The property owner is notified. They're given a certain amount of time to be in compliance and mow and do the spraying. If they do not, the city will come in and do it. They'll bill for the time. Anything that is not paid by September 30th, on October 1st, we will add a 10% non-payment penalty to it. And then we give them all a public notice that this is happening. There is 2 this year. It varies from year to year. And then we will ask the council to certify this to the county, and they will add it to the property taxes to be paid hopefully sometime in the future. So that's what we're here to do, is to ask for these 2 properties to be certified to the county to be put on the property tax rolls.
Okay, and do you need action from the council on this? So I will look for a motion and a second for
So moved.
discussion. Motion by Bill, second by Mike. Any questions?
Have we adjusted what we charge for mowing over time at all? Because I know I've heard from a few people that they just don't let the city do it. It's cheaper than them hiring somebody. So even though we've assessed it, it's kind of like we don't need to be in that business.
I think when I did it, it was $75 an hour. We might have moved that to $100. We don't charge an exorbitant amount for the service, but it does cover the costs of the mowers and the people's time. So
Just curious, these are ones that did not pay. How many do we actually have to go out and do the work that we do charge?
it really varies in a year.
Just ballpark?
Yeah, we can have any from 5 to 25. A lot of times it's vacant properties. It's properties that are owned by banks that may not even be in this country. Hard to say. You can never get a hold of them. But, you know, it's a lot of that. It's not really anybody. I can only think of 2 that the property owners actually lived in the house and just weren't taking care of it and weren't complying. Rentals is another one where the owner of the home actually is nowhere around. Those are the type of ones that we will get, and then we can't get them to come back and comply. And maybe like Bill said, instead of them driving from wherever they are, they just let us take care of it and bill it. Most of them pay it. There are a few that don't.
Rather than have our street department or rec center or park and rec take care of this, can't we somehow just farm that out to one of these lawn mowing services? Maybe go out and get some bids and say, what would you do it for us? It would seem to make sense. And we can still charge and do the collecting and everything, but it would just make a lot of sense, rather than our guys out mowing lawns.
That's up to you folks, how you want to take care of that. In the past, it's just been given as a duty to the street department to take care of.
I think it'd be a good idea just at least look into it and see what kind of charges we'd have on that. And, well, I mean, we'd still be responsible for paying that contractor first, and then
Yeah,
pass that
I
on to
agree
the
with you,
tax.
Mayor. I think it should be done on a contractual basis and go out for bids and get a first, second type bid, like very similar to what we do with our snow removal and such. Can I ask a question about, it's not specific to this, but it's on the same topic?
No,
Okay.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Let me get this. Because I've been asked this, and it seems to come up every fall when the leaves fall. And I get asked, does the ordinance apply to the cleaning up of your yards in the fall? I get people that say that I clean my yard, the neighbor never, ever, ever cleans their yard. Does this not apply to that, or?
It could. We have an ordinance, and I'd probably defer to Captain Schaefer with regard to how PD looks at it, but we have an ordinance that prohibits offensive matter on premises. It's a general term, but that's trash, debris, accumulation of anything, and it's usually a complaint-driven basis, that if someone calls in and says, my neighbor has an accumulation of whatever, then either code enforcement or law enforcement goes out and tells the owner, this complaints come in, we do consider this offensive, and they give them like 72 hours to clean it up. In the event that cleanup isn't commenced or done with that point of time, then we would do it and assess the costs against the property. So we have a broad ordinance that contemplates all sorts of stuff accumulating on somebody's property. It's usually a complaint-driven basis unless law enforcement drives by and says, oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding. But usually we find out about it because somebody calls into code enforcement and tells the city about it.
I don't know how good
Mike,
that
were
would
you
work,
referring to
Mike.
leaves, though? Is that what you're referring
Yeah.
to, is leaves?
Give them a notice and they'll be blown over in Mike's yard by the time they have to do it anyway, so they'll just give me 42 hours, it'll be gone.
You know, it's,
How did you know it was me that was complaining?
You get
You know,
you get the corn cobs, don't you? That's husks.
it's interesting, as a kid growing up in town, we used to rake our leaves into the curb, and then the street cleaner would come by and pick them all up, so we didn't have to worry about all that extra work. Or light
Kids,
masks.
kids like you, that's why there's ordinances like that now, so.
All right, so we've got that taken care of. Any old business that you need to discuss? Oh, I'm sorry. So do we have a motion, a second on the floor? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We get to rambling on that. Any old business that you need to discuss? Any new business that is needed to be discussed?
Yeah.
Anybody? Any liaison member reports?
Of course, you know I do. I usually do, so. And I like to recognize people that I feel have stepped above and beyond and liaison report for the Boys and Girls Club. Recently, Jody Driscoll was awarded the Jeremiah Milbank Gold Medallion last week at a meeting in Chicago. The Jeremiah Milbank Gold Medallion Award was created to honor those individuals who have rendered outstanding and extraordinary service to the Boys and Girls Club. To keep this prestigious award at the level it deserves, it's limited to 4 people in the United States every year. Jody Driscoll was awarded the Jeremiah Milbank Award last week at Chicago. I think she
Wow.
deserves the recognition of the city. So.
Congratulations, absolutely.
And not just because I work for her. I think it's
Yeah,
quite
congratulations, that's
quite the
incredible.
award. So.
Any other new business? I will say that I was out on Highway 81 and 212 on Friday, welcoming hunters to Watertown and heading through the area. We had them from all over the country. They were Louisiana, Arkansas. It was quite amazing. And I was not in the costume. They asked me on the radio, they said, is Stanton Fox in that costume? And I said, I don't know, I'm not saying. And he got a couple of calls on it too, thinking he was in there. So, any other liaison member reports?
Mayor, I just wanted to give an update. I know many of you here have received your Save the Date cards for the Uptown Watertown Charrette. And I wanted to encourage you all to participate and to spread the word and get as many people involved. And I'm hoping, and I know Nancy is here too, that we can get some people at perhaps the next working session to give a little bit more of a detailed update on what we've got planned for that weekend. Yeah, and it's coming together really, really nicely. So I know lots of people watch this, so I want to get the word out, everybody.
Save the date.
Save the date, yes.
Tell them what the date, tell them what
The
the date.
13th and the 14th of November. Thank you. So it's Friday night, the 13th, from, is it 5:30 to 8, Nancy? 5:30 to 8? I don't know, I save the card in front of me. And then it's an all-day workshop on Saturday. And you need to RSVP for the Saturday workshop. And it's really, we've got architects and city planners for other communities, and we've got walking tours that people involved will take, and it's just coming together to be a great event.
I'd like to thank you ladies for all the time and effort you've put into that, along with a lot of other people. I mean, I'm excited to see the total outcome of it. So
So who is that heckler on the second
Yeah,
row
it will
back
be,
there?
yeah, it'll take place at the Goss Opera House. Bruce wanted me to,
RSVP to the Watertown Community Foundation or on Facebook.
there you go, RSVP to the Watertown Community Foundation.
I never needed money.
According to my coach, no, anyway, it is at the Goss Opera House, and you can RSVP to the Watertown Community Foundation or on Facebook, as Nancy said. And we would really like to see that RSVP up. We're getting a lot of attention, and a lot of people are inquiring, so I hate to have to give away your guys' seats.
Perfect. Anybody else? Executive session, I do need to go into executive session at this time for contract and personnel discussion, so I will look for a motion and a second to go, oh, I'm sorry. I would assume there will be some action as we come out of this executive session. So I have a motion by Mike, second by Glenn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are in executive session.